So hi everybody, my name is Eric. I'm a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer, or yours. And right now, I'm the legal advisor to something called the Private Proof of Innocence protocol, as well as the Railgun privacy system. And before I talk about, to our previous guest's point about exponential or hyperbolic growth and why you don't have it in crypto, I'm just going to explain how these two systems work. So Railgun is a private smart contract system. When you use the Railgun smart contracts, it's a ZK snark, so it's encrypted. So you basically take a public balance and you make a private balance by encrypting it. Once you're inside the Railgun system, you can do anything you can usually do. You can do everything that you can normally do. You can do, swaps, DeFi, lending, all that kind of stuff. You can do everything, and it's all behind in private balances, which means that the sender and the receiver and the amount is not recorded on the blockchain. Inside the Railgun protocol, there is an indexer that records every one of your transactions with a private viewing key. So you can always prove, it's fully audible, you can show what you did, it's just the whole world isn't spying on you, basically. Private Proof of Innocence is a separate project, and the Private Proof of Innocence is a list provider. It's an aggregator of list providers. So what it does is it goes down two lists. The first list is a public list, which is all the familiar names you're familiar with, chain analysis, Bybit API, Elliptic, TRM. It goes down all through that, doing a token trace. It then goes down through a second list of providers that's not public, that is a secret, which has a whole bunch of other sources that are not in that public source. It aggregates that. When a transaction goes into Railgun, it trips 60 minutes, and you are unable to do anything, and it just begins to call Private Proof of Innocence. And this allows the PPOI to outrun the hacker, so you can front-run the hacker, right? So if somebody drains something and you try to go into Railgun, it closes for 60 minutes, and now this search goes on. If you're successful, you have non-contaminated funds, you get a mathematical proof that carries with you into Railgun that says that at the time that this went in, there is no known fault. It's a compliance tool. That compliance tool, which again has selective disclosure, as well as the indexing inside Railgun, allow fully auditable, fully traceable, but you decide when. That's basically what these projects do. Okay. So since 2018, everybody's been saying that the mass adoption is coming, institutional's coming, everybody's coming, and it never comes. And there's a lot of excuses that have been given, but not a lot of reasons. And I'm here to tell you today that the reason is privacy. Right? That is the reason. So if you've built a project that doesn't have traction, you're like, it has brilliant technology, a great UX, it has low fees, and you don't have users, ask yourself, is it because it's not private? Privacy is a non-negotiable component of true product market fit. It's not a niche feature or a luxury, it's a foundational pillar to achieve that product market fit in the crypto space. Without a credible path to user privacy, mass adoption is just a pipe dream. And this has been borne out by the evidence before you, right? There's like maybe 5 projects in the history of crypto, besides Bitcoin, that have product market fit. Lido being one of them. There's a core conflict between transparency and user privacy, right? So the transparency helps for on-chain governance and making sure that you don't get rugged, but then user privacy. And the real-world consequences include financial surveillance, right? So everybody knows what you specifically have, your spending habits, investment strategies, right? Which keeps institutional trading, and there's a whole bunch of businesses that do not come on board because of this, right? Security risks, they're self-explanatory, right? That's the wrench attack, and they've been going nothing but up. I was just in the US 2 weeks ago at an FBI meeting, and they gave us a briefing, a horrific organized crime wrench attacks across the United States, right? Security risks, and then behavioral targeting. So the same way you have surveillance capitalism on Google targeting you with products, the same thing's happening on blockchain because it's not private. So the unusable product. So this is what I was getting at. You've built something, It is technically sound. It has no users, a great interface, and low fees, right? So I tell people, take out the banking app in your phone right now and ask yourself, would you use that if everybody knew you were doing? And the answer is no. You've just built an unusable product, is what you've built, which is why there's nobody using it, except for like random degens or a very small group of people who just like to try technology. Product market fit is not about daily active users or total value locked. It's about building a product that users trust and feel empowered to use for their most sensitive activities, right? So if you don't have a privacy, you have a fundamentally unfit product. So in traditional privacy, finance, of course, privacy is a given expectation. In crypto, it must be an explicable, provable guarantee. So there's a bunch of pivot moments that we have, and one of them is that you can have provable guarantees in crypto, right? So you can have a sound marketplace, right? So privacy, among other things, prevents crime, but it's also a precondition that prevents front running, it prevents price fixing, and other frauds and conflicts, okay? So let's talk about Constitution DAO for a second. Everybody remember Constitution DAO? So DAO spun up, it raised money online, right? And within 1 week, it had, get más menos, $42 million, and was going to bid to buy a copy of the United States Constitution. So the Treasury was public. So the only other bidder, one bidder, right? CEO of a big corporation, he knew what the maximum bid was, and he only made one bid. What was the bid? The exact amount of the Treasury plus $1. That is an unfit product. There was no price discovery. You know, we don't know if the highest or lowest price was paid. And because there was complete transparency and the Treasury was there, you had a total breakdown of auction mechanics, the destruction of market efficiency, and productivity, ultimately. Okay. It's my slide from Cannes. I was at the Stablecoin Summit. You know, nobody wants your stablecoin. You can't scale from here. Stablecoin adoption is limited. It's gone like this, and then it just isn't going anywhere. Why is that? Because all the non-private use cases have soaked it up, and the private use cases are not going to use stablecoins. Here's a couple of examples of locked out use cases. Right? Institutional investors can't touch stablecoins without transaction privacy. Businesses will not run their back-end finance in public. Human rights organizations like the UN, I'm working with the UN right now to deliver crypto in faraway, dangerous places, right? They cannot have exposure to where they deliver those funds. Medical and legal professionals cannot risk confidentiality breaches. There's licensing requirements. And then anybody who has a fiduciary duty. That right there comprises of like the majority of the financial markets in the world. And then there's your competitor. Did you build a better product? So there is an issuer of 100% anonymous, 100% untraceable currency, and it's called the central bank. It's 100% untraceable, 100% anonymous by design. And the question is your product, is your offer better? Is it 10 times better? You need to get people to stop using that and to use this. And it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened since 2018. And for crypto to compete, it has to achieve mass adoption. It must offer a credible path to a superior or at least equivalent level of privacy and security. So I'll say it again, if you've built something and there's no traction, ask yourself if you added the privacy option, go private now, whether that would change anything. And I'm going to suggest to you that it will. It's not a loophole, it's missing infrastructure. So what's the solution? It's to build in privacy, right? So we have the technology is here today. You don't have to wait for next year. And it's not just the projects that I work with that have this, there's other people that have the technology. It's out there. It already exists. It's vastly superior. So I'm going to give you an example. Token tracing, as of this year, the best, most credible reports say it's 98% effective. Okay? 98. In the 35 years of KYC, in the best years ever, the average is 0.5% effectiveness. So if you only increased your effectiveness by 1%, you would be 100% more effective than the existing system on, for example, on the AML side. If you increased your effectiveness to 2%, you would be 200% more effective than the existing system. Token tracing today is already 98% effective. It's like 14,000% more effective than the existing KYC regime. Right? So you can have the ZK proof systems paired with token tracing that can vastly, by magnitudes of order that are almost unimaginable, create very clean pools of funds to move around privately, which reduces the compliance cost, the burden cost. By the way, the annual cost of KYC is $300 billion. Right? PPOI costs about $5. You know. So transaction details like sender receiver, while still proving transaction validity on chain. So you get all the security of Ethereum or the EVM. You get the mathematical provability in ZK proofs, whether it's ZK Snark or another technology. Right? You can use that. You can obtain absolute confidential transactions. You have on-chain auditability, optional user-controlled viewing keys that can reveal private transaction history to anybody, whether it's an authority or maybe it's just your internal auditor. You know, in the UN, they ship about 300 million of crypto. They need to know that they didn't send it to their brother. You know, so they need these viewing keys. And then modular compliance or selective disclosure, right? It enables you to selectively and provably share only the necessary information. So you don't have to tell everybody your birthday or your kid's birthday if they don't need to know the birthday. They just need to know the information you need to know. And so you can selectively do it in a modular way. That technology exists today. You don't have to wait. So in summary, privacy isn't a problem to be solved later. It's a fundamental requirement for achieving product market fit. By building privacy in from the start, you can unlock the use cases and attract users who are currently locked out of the system, which is the majority of users. And that is my message to you today. It's the unlock. Great. So does anybody have any questions?
So what do you recommend actually practically? Like when it comes to the technology, do you have some particular project that you would recommend right away to adopt for EVM chains?
Yes, Railgun. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So they work different. I mean, I'm not here to promote one or the other. I'll just say some privacy solutions require you to migrate to another chain to bridge. Some privacy solutions like Railgun just let you do it on EVM. You don't have to get off. Each has their merits, you know.
What I really now consider exciting that we have a nice over-stabilized stablecoins. Yes, sure. So that we're building now this system of like synthetic stablecoins inside of our ecosystem, which will be basically backed by both Liberland merits and Liberland dollars. And it's very like proof against downfall because it's really like over collateralized and makes a lot of sense to me. And if we add the privacy element to it, that will be a lot of fun. So
yeah, when I was listening to you talk, I was thinking about that. Yeah. When you were talking about the buildings kind of like an economic system inside, I was like, oh, it's a free country. They should have privacy.
This is I think I'm not aware if there are any actually privacy stable coins right now. Are they?
Not that I'm aware of.
That's I think a huge market to be explored.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Nice. All right. Anybody else? Don't be shy. Take me on.
I have a probably slightly uninformed question, but how scalable and expensive is ZK proof tech? Because that's, yeah.
Yeah. So it's very complex. I can't speak about the other systems. I can tell you that the secret and the know-how in ZK is how to keep the cost down, like how to make the circuits so that they're not expensive. And but it can be very expensive. It's a lot of compute. Railgun's 500,000 lines. And it's not easy. But it is the cheapest. But yeah, so this is the fundamental problem with ZK proofs is it's very expensive. And is when people first get into it, they begin to design it. They design it in a very inefficient way that ends up costing double or triple or quadruple. So this is like a lot of the projects in the ecosystem. And as you see them pivot and pivot and pivot and pivot, it's about getting the cost down. So, but yeah, it's a good question. Knowledgeable one. Yeah. Because it has to pay a gas fee, right? Somewhere. Anybody else? Great. Well, I thank you for inviting me. It was great to be here, and I hope to see you next year.